Let me know if this is just me, but are you also in this weird place where everything feels particularly bleak, but not necessarily in the everything is terrible way, but kind of like nothing feels particularly good or exciting, and it's like existing outside of time. You feel weird, you feel directionless, a little undermotivated, as if there's no passion in your life. Or if you do have passion, it's like everywhere you turn, you're being limited by something outside of your control. Today, we're going to continue talking about how to use astrology to unleash hidden potential and how to overcome oppressive structures. If you haven't seen the part 1 of this video, check it out below. I'm actually gonna cut right to where the first video cut off. I just wanted to add this little intro, mainly because I've been looking at all of your comments. So, being Queen Virgo, I created this little outline to go along with this video, and it's free, so you can just click the little thingamabob below to download this. And what it will do is it'll walk you through the questions to ask yourself to be able to do the process that I'm explaining in the video. What house is my Saturn in? What are the themes of this house? Where have I experienced limitations? This is like the deep work that will help you connect the dots between what I'm teaching you and what we're trying to accomplish. I don't think that you need experience with astrology to do this, but I do think that you have to be open to being creative. You have to be open to being reflective. Somebody in my comments was like, so this is not for a novice. I have really bad news for everybody who's really into commercial astrology and app astrology. Rulership is foundational astrology. Every single beginner astrology book that you will ever read will start with, this is a planet. This is what this planet rules. This is a sign. Here's what the sign rules. Instead of just throwing you a big, gigantic lesson about what the planets rule, what I'm doing is taking a little piece and going, hey, Saturn rules over restriction, but Saturn also rules over status. And so if you are struggling with feeling restricted in your life and you'd like to increase your status, let's learn about Saturn. It's way more interesting than me just going, hi, this is a YouTube video about learning Saturn. You don't care, but you do care about how to use Saturn to improve your life. And so that's what we're doing. It's not that this method is not for novices. It's that this method will require you to sit and think a little and to be a little creative and a little reflective. That is my disclaimer for not only this video, but this channel. I love meme astrology. It's really funny. I love horoscopes. They're very cute. They feel really good. But I really enjoy getting into the deep analytical work that we can do with natal charts. And that's what we do here. If you'd like to learn more about your money, if you'd like to learn more about your trauma, if you'd like to learn more about your potential, here's the planet you can use. Here's the house you can use. It will likely always require you to do a little meditation work, a little journaling, and that's what we do here. Okay? By the way, if you're new here, hi, my name is Kady, commonly known by my stage name, Kady Roxz. Thanks for checking out this channel. I'm a musical artist and research astrologer. So thanks for being here, rock stars. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. Also, if you find that this little follow along guide for this video is helpful for you, there is a longer version of this available with like 30+ pages that will walk you through everything we talked about in this video, how I did this, the exact formula for this planet plus that planet equals this for solutions. And if you snag the free video outline, it will give you an option to bundle the full ebook with Roxz's complete guide to manifestation for only 40 bucks. So you get both books for 40. In the 5th house, creativity, of leisure, things we get done. And so like these things repeat. Saturn touches Venus in the 7th house. I definitely wanted to talk about this one. Now that Venus is in the 7th, and so when Venus was in the 8th, it told us a lot about how my relationships with people often become either burdens, constrictions, debts, or it becomes a resource for me. And I do want to note that because anybody who is familiar with me, I've talked a lot about my experience with domestic abuse. And so we can see that with Venus representing relationships, Libra representing relationships in the 8th house. And up on the prior slide, I talked about how Pluto can result in abuse, constriction, and all of that. But at the same time,
Venus has also been one of my most powerful assets to securing partnerships, to securing finances, opportunities. There have been people that I've dated who've been like, "Oh my God, you're so brilliant. I want to connect you with like some business people I know. I love the stuff you're doing, right?" And so like things like that have opened up for me, really in incredible ways. And what else? I wanted to make sure that Saturn touches Chiron. So again, and so then when we look at these power zones, so yes. Not only is Saturn in the 11th house. Now it's Saturn 11th house in Aquarius. And so let's talk about really quickly that Aquarius not only has to do with internet, the internet and internet fame, but it also can tell us a lot about one's relationship to marginalized people. And so this can be like your gender identity, this could be your racial identity, this could be even like your political idea. It doesn't matter. It's like any type of group that you identify with that is not like the mainstream. And so positions of power and being seen as a leader and those things. For me, a lot of it is like, wow, I became an astrology influencer, which is a very niche community. It doesn't feel that way, but it is. And so like this, that's part of the story we see here. And so scrolling down, because here we have Amaya Scott, who is an amazing voice in the queer community, for their identity and their transformation and their transition in their career as a part of Star. Mentions you in the story. And Amaya also follows me on Twitter, which is pretty cool. So like being recognized amongst peers, 11th house, for marginalized identities, which I think I was talking about music too. Like that's why I got reposted. But also because Amaya is part of like the queer community. I see that reflected in like the queerest groups who are like often ostracized energy here. Also women's me being recognized for Women's Music Month. So again, a marginalization. There's that network with Alfredo Forbes, aims to I cut it off, but it says aims to document Black Joy campaign. And so specifically my artwork, my creative direction and my modeling, because that's me in the photo, landed me in Forbes. So being elevated to positions of power and authority through marginalized themes, Aquarius in the 11th house, groups, leadership. And then My Alone is Holy. This is like the first time I ever posted My Alone is Holy, way before I ever like uploaded it to be available on Spotify. I put it on Facebook as a demo. It was only, as you say, see 50 seconds, and it got nearly 70,000 views in the first 24 hours because it was being rapidly shared. And so a lot of what we see there, that's Saturn in the 11th house, that's Saturn touching Chiron, um, pain, transformation, all of those things. And so you see where it comes together. And so if I were to take all of that and put that together, my unique laws of power are lean into my strength and connecting with those who are from a different culture. That's a ninth house theme. Lean into my gifts of transmuting what I learn into applied wisdom by teaching. Ninth house themes. Position myself to create and leverage networks. That is that 11th house theme, Saturn. Include my personal experiences in my art and teaching. And this is all just from two placements, just two. And that's not even looking at all the aspects, because look all these lines that are coming out. So it's also touching Uranus, and it's also touching um, the sun or Jupiter. And so like there's a lot of aspects for one planet, which is why I tell people all the time when we do one-on-ones, they're like, "Oh, I want to talk about career, love," and I'm like, and we can spend a whole hour talking about one placement. And so that's my quickest deep dive into like the quickest way to radicalize your life and to create a list of unique laws of power. And I do this. Like I have my little notebook that shows me, reminds me that when situations occur, hey, think about your natal chart. Hey, this is something we can anticipate coming up because of this aspect. And so I'll usually also put like this aspect is a product of Pluto being in your ninth house. And so I'll go through line by line and write down like the interpretation or the translation of each one of those placements, and then each of its aspects as a reminder for what my pitfalls and vulnerabilities are, which also gives me a strategy for like how to avoid them, how to recognize them a mile away. Like a big theme, a big example of that is with Saturn aspecting Chiron. is that when people try to make me feel particularly marginalized in groups, and this has happened a lot, I was bullied a lot as a child, it will trigger this wound of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. And so this can either be my downfall because now I'm in opposition of communities and groups. And so I can't be in community, I can't feel supported, and I can't build a platform if I feel like I'm at war with groups. And so this can become a really quickly a big if I'm not aware of it. And so as soon as people start to make me feel othered, I remember, oh, this is just a chart theme and I'm not gonna play into it because I know the other side of that is actually I'm incredibly powerful, which is probably why people feel threatened by me and want me to feel bad. And if I just lean into my pain and what makes me different, I can be platformed and I can become a champion for people who are like me. Right. And so very quickly, just one aspect written down as a reminder, like, hey, when these things come up, here's why, and here's how I transmute it. Astrology. I love it. Right. And so go through your chart, find Saturn. Are you listening? Go through your chart, find Saturn, find Pluto. Look at what house they are in. These are generational planets. So the sign that they're in is not going to change depending on when you're born. You're probably a lot of you will also be Pluto and Scorpio and Saturn and Aquarius. A number of you will be if we're in the same age range. Um, and so that's not what's going to dramatically change. Look at the house that it falls into and then apply the definition of the sign in the house on top of that. So it's not just that I'm Saturn. It's not just that I'm Saturn in Aquarius. That's just a little bit of information, and it only tells me about the generation I was born in. It's Saturn in the 11th house. It's Saturn in 11th house Aquarius. It's you see what I mean? It's not Pluto and Scorpio. It's Pluto in the 8th, or it's Pluto in the 9th house specifically. And you can also look at both definitions from Placidus, or both placement definitions from Placidus, the whole sign. They work together, trust and believe it, and look at what they're touching. And I promise, if you just put into the little Google machine Pluto squaring Chiron, you're gonna get something. People are like, what does it mean? You're gonna get something. I promise. It's not hard to research, but it does take time. Like, just take after you watch this video, put it on your calendar that you're going to take 20 minutes. You could probably do it in 10, but give yourself 20 in case you get really enamored in what you're reading, because that's what happens to me. Like, oh my God, I want to learn more about this specific thing. But put 20 minutes down and go, okay, I'm going to Google what this means in the houses, and I'm going to Google what the aspects mean, right? I can eventually one day do Saturn in all the houses and Pluto in all the houses, but it still won't be as meaningful for you as looking at all the aspects. And I can't do Pluto through all 12 houses and all 24 potential aspects it could have. But that's kind of why I'm doing, like, that was the ideology behind like the 12-week course that I'm doing, is that we can get into these things, but it's going to take enough time. I don't want to even call it a long time. It's going to take a lot of time. And so that's why I created that course, because that's where we dig in.
Thanks for watching. Always, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you see this video within the first 24 hours of me uploading it, I will likely be on later tonight answering all your questions in real time. So I'll see you in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet.